Awesome. Okay. Welcome to Phoenix Talks. I am Micah, also known as Brenda Wolf. And joining me as always, we have the lovely Diane RDibiase.
Hi,
And
everyone.
we're excited today because the topic that we're going to be talking about is one of large controversy, especially when somebody is in a lot of pain, which a lot of people are, especially when it comes to this topic. So today we're going to be having our conversation around forgiveness. And we want to try and focus and keep our attention to you forgiving yourself. And this is where one of the hardest aspects of forgiveness comes in. So with that, Diane, what's our leading question?
So, when is it the right time to forgive for you? That's one of there's a bunch of questions.
Oh,
That's one of the
yes.
questions. Do you forgive to forgive or not to forgive? That is the question. Uh, a lot of people struggle with this
That
one.
is a really important one.
Yes, and a lot of people struggle with this one because they feel as though that forgiveness means that they get off the hook. And that's not at all what it means. So I'd love for us to be able to kind of walk through the whole process and understanding why it's important and
Mhm.
what does happen if you don't, kind of thing. It's, and kind of teach everyone why it's important to and how it's for you.
I do apologize that I'm not looking directly at the camera. I'm attempting to try and get to my channel so that I can see us. There we go. All right. Just in case we have anybody. Ah, there's Carla. Okay, now I can see the chat. A little distracted this morning, so please do me a favor, ask that question one more time.
I'll go to the Shakespearean one. To forgive or not to forgive? That is the question. So I was hoping to walk through the why it's important to forgive and what happens if you don't and all that jazz. So this way people understand that it's not about them getting off the hook. And I think that's why a lot of people struggle with this. It's because it's for your peace and your ability to move past it and love yourself in a different kind of way.
Exactly. And I actually want to counter your question with a question. Do you want to stay in pain or do you want to heal?
And that's
Because,
what you decide.
and forgiveness is on so many different levels that if we're not going to give ourselves permission to screw up and realize that we're going to make mistakes and forgive ourselves when we do make a mistake, especially if we hurt somebody in the process, mean to or not.
Right.
We want their forgiveness, but we also need to forgive ourselves
Right. And
so that
that's
we
hard to do if there's judgment. So you're judging yourself, and that's why you're not forgiving yourself. You're having these expectations that you have from these programmed judgments.
Mhm.
Um, so this ties right into what you're saying, ties right into previous conversations that we've had.
Yeah, and forgiveness isn't validating that what was done is okay.
Right.
Because a lot of people have a misconception that to forgive is to say, yeah, what happened to me, well, they're excused. No, that
Right.
that's not what this is saying. Actually,
No. And the
this
reason why
conversation,
that's not, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
that's okay. I actually had a conversation with a previous peer from my last life last night, and we were talking about somebody. I'm not going to mention any names, but we were talking about somebody that had deeply hurt me, and they'd asked if I would forgive and reconnect, and I said, I've already forgiven, but I'm not reconnecting
There you go.
because I'm not excusing what they did. I'm releasing the inner pain that it caused and saying, I'm done with that.
Right. Right.
And then
Exactly.
I forgave myself for holding on to it
Yeah.
and allowing it. Because
And
people can do things to us.
Right.
That hurt on
Yeah.
physical, emotional, financial level. They can do those things to us. And yes, we have a response. We have a reaction. Now, allowing that to continue, perpetuate, talk to other people about, and just to continue the cycle and increase the negative aspect of it. What good is that doing you?
Right. Right. So on that note, I'm going to segue it into what good is that doing you means the energy that you're putting out there for yourself is the instructions for what your experience is going to look like. That being said, the forgiveness is for you, and no, they're not off the hook, because the energy that they're putting out with whatever they've done to you or with you or for you or whatever, situation it was, is what their instructions are for the universe to get back in their own experience. So don't worry. They don't get away with their own behavior, because they will create a reality that matches their behavior, and that's enough for them. The forgiveness piece is for you because you need to release yourself from that obligation as well. You're tethering yourself to that person and drinking more poison by holding on to that resentment and that anger. So in essence, they may not be in your presence anymore. You don't have to tolerate them, etc. But if you're still clinging on to the idea of, I'm not going to ever forgive them, you're poisoning yourself.
Mhm.
And how much poison can you drink before your soul withers away?
Yeah, you're not rewriting your reality.
Right.
If you stay tethered to this energetic of having been done wrong,
Mm-hmm.
we're not being discompassionate
Right.
about you being hurt. Not at all. But when it's perpetuated, when it's held onto, when that energetic of, man, did they hurt me?
Right.
And how many people have you talked to about it? How many times has it been brought up? Well, I stopped thinking about it. I'm not taking it personal anymore, but
Right. Right. So you're holding on to that grudge. And that's really unhealthy for you, because that energy there is, there's so many pieces to it: comparison, expectations, resentment, judgment. There's such a laundry list of little components that are wrapped up inside of that grudge, that you're eating away at yourself. So of course, why or how do you get out of it? What do we have to do in order to shift ourselves out of that grudge and get over it? No, there's no getting over it. That's not the point. The point is to release the pain and allow yourself permission to see them with the eyes of compassion and understanding that they're in their own little bubble and having their own little experience, and whatever that means to them, that means to them. And obviously you're not in alignment and you don't resonate with each other. And that's why things didn't go the way you expected them to, because you projected your own expectations onto somebody who wasn't capable of delivering. So shift your perspective on the whole situation and understand and show compassion for where they're at in their own journey, and allow yourself permission to release them lovingly, and maybe with some more awareness, well wishes, whatever, but release them with gratitude for the lesson and for the observation of what doesn't resonate with you. You learn about yourself in the process. That's why.
And if you're watching the replay of this and not catching us live, even if you are catching us live, I want you to pause right here and I want you to rewind and I want you to listen to all of that again, because that was a lot to unpack. Okay.
It was instructions on how to move on.
In this much of space, but takes this much time. And you can't even see how far my hand's out.
Yes, let's talk about that piece for a minute, because there are layers to forgiveness as well. You may think you're over something and then something happens in your life that makes it go, boom, where is this coming from? Now I'm mad all over again. So it does take time, and everything happens cyclically.
Mhm.
So you got to wait for another experience to recognize where you're at in your own healing journey
Right.
of forgiveness.
And while I was preparing today, I grew up in the Catholic and Christian faith. And the Lord's Prayer, and this is something that just about everybody can relate to.
Mhm.
Forgive us our trespasses, okay? We're asking for external help for forgiveness when in reality, we're asking for that capability of granting that gift to us. And then
Right.
it says, and those who trespassed against us. Okay, well, we are asking for an external forgiveness for what was done wrong to us. That doesn't release that from us. So to those who say this every Sunday, every day, however often you say it, say the whole prayer, remember that aspect, that you're asking for the guidance from external to bring internal so that you yourself can move beyond the pain that you've carried or caused.
Right. Right. Now, on that note, you're making my brain connect dots here with regards to remembering to also include that people need to recognize that internal forgiveness will help you with external forgiveness. So when you reflect on yourself lovingly and from that perspective of respect and admiration and love and consideration and compassion, you will be able to forgive yourself. So that goes back to that self-love piece that snuck its way in previous conversations as well.
Mm-hmm.
Practicing self-forgiveness and self-compassion will help you exude that externally and include whatever circumstances and persons you don't want to extend forgiveness to. Why do you want to live in that state? Because now you're aligning yourself with higher vibrational energy. Because as you know, the higher frequencies are unconditional love and compassion. That doesn't mean unconditional tolerance, and we're going to circle back to that conversation, because it doesn't mean that you need to maintain connection. You
Right.
can cut all ties, do whatever you got to do energetically, mentally, physically in your world to shut that door and seal it tight. But your soul needs you to forgive for its growth and evolution.
Yep.
Do not remain tethered to that, because then you are creating your own tether.
Exactly. And Abraham Hicks, one of my favorite speakers, mentions repeatedly, you know what you want, you know what you don't want, you know what you want, you know what you don't want, you know what you want, you know what you don't want, over and over and over again. Because you focus on what you don't want. What are you focusing on? You focus on what you want. What are you focusing on? So where your focus is where your mind goes, and where your mind goes, energy flows.
Right.
Always something to remember. And if you're focusing on what you don't have, and if you don't have forgiveness, your own or somebody else's, you're holding on.
Right.
You're grasping that pain and living in it.
Yeah.
You can bury it.
Yeah.
You can bury it. It's still there.
Yes. Yeah. And if nothing else, forgiving others will help you also forgive yourself. So they're going to work hand in hand. And the reason for that is because when you reflect and you recognize that they were limited to whatever their personal experience was, which led to whatever thought pattern and behavior that hurts you,
Mm-hmm.
you can allow yourself to recognize that within your own journey and
One of my
notice that. What was that?
one of my clients was having issue with forgiving what was done to her in an abusive relationship.
Mhm.
And I said, now bear with me and stay with me. Don't go off. And this goes for everybody that I'm about to say this to. When you're in an abusive situation and you've exited it and you're trying to move forward from it, keep this in mind. You have no idea truly what their upbringing was. You have no idea where that came from. I'm not excusing it. They did the best they could with what they knew and how they knew. I'm not excusing it. But to remember that and understand that opens the doorway for, okay, I get it. They hurt me. I have to work through that. However, I forgive them.
Right.
And that's just one tiny example.
Right.
And as soon as this was recognized and realized, the doors that began to open, incredible,
Right.
absolutely incredible, because you literally feel a shift inside when you say, I forgive them, and you mean it.
Right.
You're not excusing them. You're not letting them off the hook. We
Yes.
can't say that and emphasize that enough.
Right.
You're not letting them off you're letting yourself off the hook.
Right.
Look at it that way. You are letting yourself off the hook so that you don't get stuck
But
in
the
a pile of
reality is you're
poop.
keeping yourself stuck anyway. You're going to stay stuck in there. And you know, as to what you're saying, yes, absolutely. You need to walk through it. You need to walk through the aspects of forgiveness that will help you recognize that you actually need to forgive yourself. Because at the end of the day, what is the grudge? You're mad at them for their actions and behaviors that they, with their limited situation. So it's your reaction and how it made you feel. And did you allow that situation because you were taught that unhealthiness was normal and that's what you grew up with and it was familiar to you? So you kept it going because that's what you thought it was. Like at the end of the day, there's a piece of us that's mad at them and ourselves for staying in it too long, for doing this, for accepting this, so you have to work through those pieces so you stop yourself and forgive yourself for whatever it is you think you did or didn't do, or whatever. Cut all that stuff out, throw it in the trash, because the reality is you're just learning about yourself. This is where we talked about maintaining that heart-centered space and viewing yourself from the perspective of learning who you
Yeah.
are and who you are not. So forgiveness is a big part of that, because a lot of it is we might be holding a grudge against ourselves for putting ourselves through those things. But now you're judging yourself. Don't get stuck in those hamster wheels. Forgiveness will help you hop off a lot of hamster wheels you didn't realize you were sabotaging yourself with.
Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest ones that I hear, God, I'm so stupid. Oh, no, you're not.
The level of abuse you've endured has no bearing on your intelligence whatsoever.
Done.
And the fact of the matter is that abusers pick intelligent people on purpose. They're a fabulous supply.
That's a
So
whole different conversation.
it is, but again, you're judging yourself, and you got to
Exactly.
forgive yourself for your ability, for your, unawareness at that level.
Yeah.
Instead, shift yourself into that applauding yourself for recognizing it and having that understanding now, and then encourage yourself to choose something different going forward and analyze, how did I allow whatever to happen?
100%.
Okay, did I not speak up? Did I not express my needs? Did I tolerate everything? Did I forgive and forget and without change behavior? Where were you landing in all of that so that you could learn about what you need to get rid of? Not for any other reason. You're not shaming yourself. You're not being angry at yourself. You need to allow yourself permission to just analyze. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is there's something else going on underneath that you're not even aware of. And this is what where I'm moving into with how I coach people, because there is a level of chemical reaction that happens based on your thoughts and feelings as a result. When you are thinking happy things, there is one chemical that's released into your body. When you are thinking negative things, there's another chemical that's released into your body. When you are experiencing things of happiness, of joy, of love, of compassion, you're having a full body experience, and the body gets addicted. So when people are stuck in an abusive, and this goes with self-abuse as well, and self-talk, you're feeding that addiction.
Yep.
So if you've ever tried to quit smoking, tried to lose weight, tried to quit drinking, tried to stop a habit, were you able to think about it and do it? No. You had to actually shift and create a new habit. Forgiving yourself can open a doorway to that.
Right.
I made a choice. It's okay. I forgive myself. It's not calling yourself. There's a complete difference. Go ahead.
Yes. And part of the process to get yourself to that forgiveness state also has to include righteous anger for yourself, on behalf of yourself, self-advocacy. I like to suggest doing that through mirror work or through some other physical material world method to help you process that whole piece. Because, write a letter, make a phone call, fake phone call, not a real one. Because you don't have to do this in person if they're toxic for you. Okay, that's very important, because a lot of times you're holding grudges against people because they were toxic. So you don't have to do any in-person kind of thing for forgiveness. You can do that kind of work through other tools and techniques that they use in therapy, etc., and healing, in order to get you to that place of forgiveness. Okay, so sometimes you got to be mad for yourself.
And you can do it in the shower.
Shower, exactly.
You can write it down.
Mm-hmm.
And two techniques that I've actually used, where I wrote a letter where I was angry about something towards somebody. As soon as I was done writing that letter, I sat something on a chair opposing me. I read that letter to that person as if they were sitting there, expressing how I would have expressed if they were there, and then burned the paper. Done. Another way is just in the shower. You're getting yourself clean. Oh my God, I can't feel this way anymore. I got to get this off of me.
Yeah.
Okay, give it. I'm forgiving myself. And, I insert growth movement or release here. Okay.
Right.
But for the purpose of this conversation, I'm okay. This is making me dirty on the inside. So maybe it's the same premise.
Right.
Forgiveness helps to cleanse.
Yes. Yes. And it's incredibly cathartic. Oh, all the weight you're carrying that you don't realize.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I've always told people, they will apologize a lot. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Don't apologize if you don't mean it. Same goes for forgiveness. You can't feign forgiveness. If you're feigning forgiveness, you are saying that the actions are okay.
Right.
There's a difference. Then you're putting up with it.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's okay. Is it?
Right. Right. And that's that piece of, you have to identify what your own behaviors are that are self-sabotaging, and set boundaries for yourself first, that you won't tolerate certain thought patterns and behaviors and actions from others in your energy field at all.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Right. You know, sometimes we walk through these steps and we try to reach that place of forgiveness, and somewhere in the process we kind of take a side journey or side quest, and end up finding that we need to forgive ourselves for a lot more than we realized. Because at the end of the day, we do choose our thought patterns and behaviors. And I just want to remind everybody that when you get to those places, remember how to process those emotions and shift your perspective of yourself into that loving place, because sometimes people struggle and sometimes that could take them down a spiral, and they might get stuck there because the ego might be, you know, still pulling at you to think bad about yourself. So this is another reason why forgiveness is important, and walking through the processing emotions part with the self-love piece in there is important.
Mm-hmm.
So you can pull yourself out of those places.
Right. And the ego is actually chemically fed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it all stems back to thought.
Yeah.
Because your thoughts get the wheelhouses in the unconscious going.
Right. Reprogram your mind.
Mary Morrissey, I don't know if you're familiar with her. She has been a transformational coach, 172 different countries for 50 years. Okay. She has grown her coaching business exponentially. And one thing that I learned from her is mirror talk.
Mm-hmm.
I just recently learned this, and I'm actually implementing it for myself. Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. 3 times a day, go to a mirror, say that phrase. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. You are starting to help that reprogramming.
Right.
Simply
Right. Yeah.
by one positive statement that each time you say it,
Yeah.
you
You might
may,
hear
you
dog
may
barking
not
in the
believe
background.
it.
I'm sorry.
What's that?
I said you might hear a dog barking in the background. Sorry about that.
We're used to Marie by now, so it's okay. But each time you say it, believe it as much as you can. There's no pressure. You don't have to believe it the first time you say it. No one has that expectation. No one has the expectation that anything that a coach or guru, mentor is going to work the first time. It's not.
Right.
There's the harsh truth. It's not going to work the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And while you say, I forgive myself, whoever, you're going to feel that shift. But then you're also going to have to deal with the extra work.
Right.
Because it's going to allow the doors inside to open up, to let whatever was buried under that start to come up.
Right. Right. Excuse me 1 second. I'm sorry. I'm in the middle of a live, Renee. Sorry. Okay. Thank you for letting me know. I have to pop off right now because there's an emergency situation that I need to attend to.
No
So
problem.
I'm gonna say adieu, and forgive me for popping off.
Oh, no problem. I'm actually going to close up with that quote that I was telling you about
Go
from
for it.
Don Miguel's book, and then I'm going to pop off as well. So
Thank you. I'm
thank you,
gonna
Dan,
leave
for
my background and it'll pop off when it pops off.
all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
But in Don Miguel Ruiz's book, The Circle of Fire, it's a series of different emotions that we all experience and that we want to be able to work through. And it does have a section on forgiveness. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just the first paragraph, because it really does help to tie everything in and give this a nice close. Before you learned to speak, you loved with no effort. You forgave with no effort. It was natural to love. It was natural to forgive. But then you learned how to behave from other people who didn't love, who didn't forgive. Today, if you really want to, you can return to love and let go of whatever is not love. Today can be a new beginning. You can remember how to love and forgive those who are closest to you, most of all you. So whatever it is that you've done in life, whatever it is that you've experienced in life that has affected you negatively, you can let go. You can forgive it. You're not excusing it. You're giving yourself permission for it not to hold you back from evolving and emerging. And we'll be back next week. Same time, same channel. Make it a great week. Love you all. Keep going.